Previously on the Trogly's Guitar Show.
The Sinister Gates sold for $504.
I got lucky on the Facebook Marketplace, and it took the cake.
Christian rock bands hung at church. I didn't start playing until I was 17. It's the first good guitar I ever bought. It's the first good guitar ever. Took me over there. I made a trade. I think they got the better end of the deal. I think it was more than 9 pounds. Give it a good home. That's what I was, when my daughter called me, what I was glad it's going to you. That's a nice guitar.
You heard the man. This is a nice guitar. This was an attempt by Fender that started in 1979 and lasted until 1982 to produce something that was cheaper than a Stratocaster because all the Asian copies were beating them out of the market at this point in time. So they thought, let's try to compete with those cheaper import models. This is kind of a mix between a Stratocaster and a Telecaster in both shape and design. Because it's reminiscent of a Stratocaster, but it's, more leveled off like a Tele. It's also a string-through body design. And you have a very Strat-looking neck here, kind of reminiscent of a 60s Fender headstock. Because at this point in time, the regular Fender Strats would have a large headstock. But they still retained that general feel of their flagship models. It has 21 frets and is the regular 25.5-inch scale. These come in maple and rosewood fretboard variations. I am very happy with my maple one because I love those. But they will all have a maple neck, and you can either have an ash or alder body. I believe this one's an ash body, and they usually have a black, red, or brown finish. Now what I love about this red one is you can see the wood grain underneath. But let me tell you, this body is so heavy. You guys saw when I first held it in my hands, I was like, oh yeah, buddy, I agree with you. It has to be way more than 9 pounds. But it's not. It's just a few ounces over 9 pounds, but all the weight to this guitar, it's in the body. And that's why it feels like it's 14 pounds. Now within the Lead series, there were 4 different iterations. The last one being the Lead bass. That one never made it to production. There is a prototype kicking around out there, but that's a 34-inch scale bass. But there's the Lead 1, that's this one, the Lead 2, and the Lead 3. So Lead 1, it has a single humbucker pickup here that is a ceramic magnet that usually ohms out about 13 ohms of resistance. This was designed by the guy who invented humbucking pickups, Seth Lover. And this is what's really unique about this thing. It might just be a 1 pickup guitar, but it controls like a 3 pickup instrument. Because you've got these 2 little toggle switches right here. This first one is a 3-way switch. When it's in the up position, you have just the top single coil active. When you have it in the middle, both of them are active, acting as a humbucker. And then by process of elimination, the bottom position is just the bottom single coil. And then only when you're in the middle humbucking position does this second one become active. It is a series parallel switch, and then you have a master volume and a master tone in order to control all this with your output jack on the front. So usually a 1 pickup guitar like a Les Paul Jr. or something, they're really simple, but this one, it has so many different sounds to it. I thought it kind of gave a nice deep dark tone to it, which made it great for super Strat type stuff and kind of more grungier things as well. But the upgraded version to this one is the Lead 3. It has a second humbucker in the neck position, and it has two 3-way toggle switches. You have a neck and bridge, but then the second one gets kind of tricky here. So when it's all the way up for that one, it's just both neck single coils. Then your middle is both of them in humbucking mode, and then the final one is just the bridge portion of each pickup. And if you're looking for a more Stratty styled one, you will want to seek out a Lead 2. It has two single coils. Similar to the Lead 1, you have a 3 and 2-way toggle switch. The first one selects the neck and bridge single coils. And then instead of series and parallel, it is in and out of phase. After 1982, these were replaced by the Fender Japan Squire JV models. But these were American-made guitars. You can see it right here on the headstock, made in the USA. And that's why these are kind of sleeper vintages that are kind of starting to go up in value. Because, you know, there's just something intrinsically cool to someone like me to own something that was made before I was even born. So even though this was kind of a cheap model back in the day that sold new for around $400, which might seem cheap by today's standards, but if we adjust for inflation, you can see these were not very good financial investments. Because the Blue Book value puts these between $475 to $675. But the book is usually a little bit low. So personally, I like this guitar. I don't like it as much as I liked the Bullet Strat that I had because, well, it's not really a regular Fender in my eyes. So usually when I have a Fender, I have a certain sound in mind, but this one had a more familiar tone to it. I might like the Lead 2 better. Now that we know a little bit about the Fender Lead models, let's go ahead and hear how this one sounds.
Now that we know how this instrument sounds, let's go ahead and review its condition.
Buying things locally, I thought for sure, judging by those few photos the seller had online, that this was going to be trashed. It was likely going to smell like smoke, but I was pleasantly surprised with the condition that it was in when I got there. You have your Fender branded tuners on here. You've got a few light nicks and dings on the face of the headstock, but nothing too bad. You still have 2 string trees here, and your truss rod does not adjust from here. It actually adjusts at the bottom of the neck. Now, I don't think you can get to that without taking the pick guard off at least, so that might be a bit of a pain if you ever needed to do that. You do have some impressions on the fretboard, but I don't see any like worn areas of finish. There are divots to the frets, so that means you do have some fret wear here, but I did not notice that at all while playing. So this is kind of one of those situations where they look worse than it actually is. But you've got a nice thick gloss coating over this fretboard yet. You have picking scratches and wear and tear all over this guitar. The signatures, I went ahead and used some naphtha to see if that would help take some of these off. I didn't really want to remove them though, so I just kind of tried it on a small area. I think you're just stuck with them at this point in time. However, as you'll see in the blacklight test, even if you were to get rid of them, they would still be visible under that test. So most notably on the front, you have a chip in your pickguard at the end there. There's a ding right here that goes through to the wood, and there's also a worn through area right here. But what's kind of weird about this is there is no difference in feel. It's almost like it's been touched up, or maybe it's just the stain kind of rubbed off. I'm not really sure on this. Our serial number is E114803, made in USA, so that makes this a 1981 model. Back at the headstock here, you've got a few light nicks and dings around the edges. The neck is in good shape. You've got a little bit of a bump right here where the skunk stripe ends, but it's not like super separating or anything. You have a few light dings on the neck, nothing that I really noticed while playing. And I would say this is a pretty chunky C neck profile in my opinion. Kind of reminds me of a Telecaster in a way. What I find interesting about this double cut design though is usually you have like a shelf on one end of the neck, but this one you don't have that. It's kind of interesting. Luckily, there are no cracks to the neck pocket or anything. Those are usually pretty common to find on these. And it is a 4 bolt-on neck. Back of the instrument, it's got some buckle worming marks and rash. And then somehow the finish kind of got chipped through here. And once again, it still feels rather polished. And you've got some edge wear along there as well. So this was definitely played throughout its ages. And as he was saying, it's been played by many band members of Christian rock bands. It lived in a church for many a years. So who knows how many people this guitar has inspired to pick up and learn guitar. And that's why even if we think, okay, Sinister Gates versus a Lead 1, some people might say I traded down this time. But I wouldn't exchange this experience for anything. I loved getting to learn about this Fender model. I enjoyed my time with the original owner and documenting his story. And that's what this series is all about. I love documenting guitars. We'll do a quick blacklight test here. This will help show us the areas of wear. And see, that almost looks like a touch-up to me, but I could be wrong. But here's what's interesting. You can see those invisible signatures that he was talking about that got worn through. You can also see where the sweat has absorbed into the finish. Look around the edges here. So I'm almost betting somebody touched up these areas of wear. That way the wood didn't rot or something. The neck glows very well on this one, as does the face of the headstock and the fretboard. So everything is good on this one. This instrument does retain its original Fender case. It's the black Tolex version. I guess you could also get a molded plastic as well. But you have 2 locking latches on either side of the case, as well as a clasp, functioning handle yet as well. And the interior is kind of a dark maroon color. I mean, it's not the best case in the world. It's not super form-fitting, but it just does the job. The way it fits in here is this block kind of closes up the space, and then it sits diagonally, and then you strap the neck in with this, and then it rests against that block. So it doesn't move around or anything, but it's definitely not a super form-fit case. If you think you might be interested in trading me something for this Fender Lead 1, check out that link in the description that will take you to the Reverb ad. Thank you, Troglodytes, for watching, and we will see you on the next installment of the Trade Tuesday series. Take care.